10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
American qualifiers. We got Infamous going up against Digital Chaos. Last best of 3 of the day. Let's hope it's going to be a good one.
DC's turn to ban. Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds.
Warlock.
DC's turn to pick.
Monkey King.
Crystal Maiden.
Dire team pick.
Soul Warlord.
DC's turn to ban.
Monkey King, Crystal Maiden, the aggressive and the little bit of a passive support duo picked up right away from Digital Chaos. And you got to make sure that bo3 doesn't get his hands on Monkey King, even if it is bo3's son. Again, we have no idea who these guys are because these names are kind of weird, but we're going to call them what they're tagged up as because I guess that's just the polite thing to do. Either way, Monkey King CM going to go up against the Warlock first pick, pretty reasonable. Then we have a really early Troll Warlord. Definitely an interesting adaptation here. I'm not a huge fan of the Troll Warlord. I feel like it's a fine 4th, 5th pick if you can fit him in, if you have some synergy build up already, but I feel like if I'm going to be picking my carry, I'd rather have a Terrorblade.
Dire team ban. DC's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Last game, Magnus was picked up in the latest phase you could possibly get it, and well, now we have all those offlane heroes hated out by the DC side, saw as well as that Centaur, and they have to pick up an offlane of their own, and quite frankly, a lot of offlane hate here. Would not be too surprised to see an Omni Knight show up just because one of the few great offlane heroes still in the pool. You can always go towards like a Sand King if you're really feeling up to it. You can grab yourself a Bat Rider or something along those lines as well. So there will always be offlane heroes to pick up, but man, they've been taking an absolute beating here in this ban phase from both teams. The primo offlaners are pretty much all gone at this stage, but I mean, Crystal Maiden, Monkey King, you don't really need all that much to kind of enable your supports. They're usually the ones to do the enabling. So free picks here for Digital Chaos, really. There's not much that they have to play around either. I mean, like, Troll Warlord is a threat, but it's not a hero that is just like impossible to man fight up against. You can manage him. Warlock is also very manageable, so it does seem like DC can get their most comfortable pick here instead of needing to get a certain hero.
DC's turn to pick.
I speak for the trees.
Dire team pick.
Spirit Breaker.
DC's turn to pick.
Bristleback!
Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Absolutely love the
Reserve
Bristleback
time.
pick, though. With the Crystal Maiden, it solves so much of the Bristleback's mega early game where you can just spam out your
DC's
quills to your
turn to
heart's
ban.
content, and yeah, I mean, you gotta, I guess, still be kind of responsible, but yeah, you'll be doing so much extra damage. This screams aggression from the Digital Chaos side. Monkey King, Crystal Maiden, again, those heroes that can get off to a very aggressive start. Monkey King from minute
10
0
seconds
CM
remaining.
needs a little bit of time, level 3, level 4, but then she can also join the fray. And
5
when you're talking about
seconds remaining.
Bristleback, you just run at your enemies and they just profit to cut them off. It does seem like it's going to be an
Reserve
absolute
time.
brawl fest, and in that sense, positioning is absolutely key. And to that end, Infamous, I really like their last two picks. Like, obviously, Spirit Breaker, really good up against Nature's Prophet. That's kind of a given, but he has great synergy with the Troll Warlord in the later stages of the game. And now the Batrider pickup as well is an absolutely monstrous hero up against, again, Nature's Prophet, but also has a lot of game up against the Monkey King. Being able to see him is one thing, but also being able to deforest him and make sure that he is not going to be providing that mobile vision is a big deal in favor of Infamous. If Digital Chaos are looking for that pickoff game, so much harder when you don't have
Dire
Monkey King
team
scouting.
ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Imba Spirit.
DC's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining.
Always a risk
5
whenever you pick up
seconds
this
remaining.
Nature's Prophet. I feel like this happens every single time I'm casting. I see Nature's Prophet. It's like, oh, right, we got
Reserve
Nature's
time.
Prophet, and now we're up against Spirit Breaker, and a Clockwork, and a Storm Spirit. It just gets worse and worse every single time, but Ember Spirit is a hero that has, kind of mediocre matchups over in the mid lane. Spirit Breaker charges definitely will try to tip things in the Ember Spirit's favor, but Abed looking for the mid lane hero most likely, unless we see something a little bit of a twist here for Digital Chaos as far as Nature's Prophet or Bristleback going mid, which is also not an impossibility. But you mentioned Invoker a little bit earlier. Lina is still in the pool, though I would be concerned for her survivability somewhat. Gonna be a Death Prophet. I like this pick quite a bit. It's a hard hero to gank as a Spirit Breaker. You can charge in, but you know that you're offering her another Siphon target. So you gotta burst her down quick, and Spirit Breaker, Ember Spirit, they do a lot of damage, but they do it very slowly.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
to gel together. You mentioned earlier we got Forev and Dubu back together. The old Korean Dota, love me some of that. But also Infamous, a little bit of a question mark. I mean, we don't know what their actual names are because they're tagged up as, bo3 and YYF. So big shoes to fill, I suppose. But how many people are sure as to how powerful this team actually is? And Benyes has been in the scene forever. He is extremely talented at what he does, and you would assume that he'd be able to control his teammates pretty well. But everyone else, seeing as though they don't have any names that I recognize, at least, who knows? Maybe there are people we know, but don't know. Talking about bouncing around between teams. On the other end, we have Bulba. Just not to be outdone for sure, but you know what? We have ourselves a draft. We have ourselves heroes loading out. Let's take a quick look at who's going to be playing what. We will politely refer to these guys as they're tagged up. YYF, definitely the real YF, definitely not a fraud. Going to be handling the Warlock. bo3 Jr. on the Spirit Breaker, I like it. Benyes, aforementioned, on the Troll Warlord. Got Gucci on the Ember Spirit, and Sword is on the Bat Rider. I definitely recognize the Heart Amy, but I'm not really sure who that is from.
30 seconds to battle. The battle begins.
Oh, that damage. Oh, this Bat Rider forced to use a Tango already. It's not really like a massive win, but he's probably gonna have to go all the way back or Shrine right now, and that is gonna be Bat Rider just off the lane. So this Monkey King, this Crystal Maiden, perhaps going to be a little bit idle, but that's exactly what they want. Crystal Maiden especially just doesn't want to be messing with the lane opposition, just wants to be jungling, and with that small play, we'll be getting just that. This will also be getting Mason a couple of minutes with the creep wave freely to last hit, which means that when the Bat Rider arrives, he's going to be going up against the Bristleback with most likely a magic stick, possibly even building up towards that magic wand very quickly as well. So Bat Rider, not off to a fantastic start. Does have boots rather early on, but I'm not really sure if he's able to do all that much with those.
I will rise next season.
First blood.
Such a difficult lane to survive against. Such a difficult game to survive against as this Nature's Prophet. The Spirit Breaker just will always have that Nature's Prophet's number, and even though Troll, Warlock aren't really huge damage dealing heroes at this stage in the game, Nature's Prophet isn't really a good hero to tank any of that. He is not durable enough, full stop. So if he's not going to control the wave... Oh, actually mid lane, Abed getting a really aggressive playoff onto Gucci. Will get the kill. With the salve, we'll be just fine. Ember Spirit dropping first. I'll mention that in a little bit, but Forev, if he's not able to control the creep wave with his Treants, make sure that he's CSing with them, pulling them back in, and being cute with the aggression, then he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But Abed getting that first kill on a really good matchup is going to be charged now by bo3 Jr. Picks up a double damage rune. This is off Roshan in the meantime. Luckily for him, he doesn't get hit by him. Onto Abed, he'll stick pretty closely, but Gucci has chains, but he doesn't have any way of closing the distance for chains. And even with that charge in, Abed is expected to pretty much smash this lane even more so than he is right now.
The seeds of fortune.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Stick thinking about it, Bulba. What the hell is this? He's a double damage rune? Okay. Not going to deploy it just yet, but still Gucci is going to be forced to burn through a lot of regen. This courier better give him something. Boots and Clarity is not the regen he would really want. He does still have one shrine active, so he will be able to work with that. But now Dubu going to make his arrival with Forev as well. Looking to jack the courier, and that will be taken down. Tries to sprint away. Not going to happen. Gucci locked down thanks to the snowman. But seems like Abed was just a little bit too far away to fully capitalize onto that kill, especially with the rotation from YYF. But either way, you may not kill the Ember Spirit, but you do get the courier. And it's not like Forev was able to do all that much in that meantime anyway.
Tower is under attack.
Invisibility.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Oh, I wish I could have seen that bar fight between you and Tusk.
A little bit surprised we don't see Magic Stick being picked up by the Bristleback. You don't really need a lot of mana since you already have the CM, but oh, okay, never mind, he picks it up. So he is going to go up against the Bat Rider in pretty much the matchup you would expect. Magic Sticks, Magic Wands galore, and everyone spamming their spells. It will be difficult to kill off these heroes unless you make a really big effort, but either way, 2-1 for DC, and we now have a level 3 Crystal Maiden, Monkey King, only level 2, but still with that Orb of Venom and still with Dubu to set everything up. Definitely look to get some blood on their hands, and if possible, really, they want to go for this Ember Spirit. We've been having just an absolute hellish time right now. Both of his shrines have already been used, so I'm not really sure what his plan is for sustain. And your plan can't be, oh, we're just going to sack the mid lane, and okay, well, they're actually going to kill off Mason in the meantime, but if they try to sack the mid lane, Abed's a freaking Death Prophet. He will kill your tower. That's a big kill, though, to be had on bottom. Bristleback is not easy, and they're able to do it, albeit barely. Bat Rider cutting it pretty close.
Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Spared you future loss.
That was actually a pretty sick jump from the Monkey King on the Sprout of the Nature's Prophet, and the trees disappeared, and I thought he was going to stun himself. But I guess that's not how that works, or maybe he was already in the air and something happened there, but either way, was able to jump off the Sprout, and well, it's, you know, narrow combos, but combos nonetheless. Forev is level 5, and he is going to go for the Midas, even though he hasn't really been able to truly lane. With the jungling of the Nature's Prophet, he is still remaining fairly competitive in this game, is topping Gucci and the enemy Bat Rider in the farm department. So, yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for more coming out of your Nature's Prophet. Oh, sick
Dire's
deny.
middle tower has been denied.
And in the meantime, they were battle trancing and charging for Forev. And, well, Mason's going to spring into action, get right back into the lane, but it is still a tower picked up by the DC side, and losing an Nature's Prophet, again, to this combo is something that's pretty much to be expected. He's only died twice, so for Forev, it's still perfectly fine. This Bristleback is going to be joining the fight very early on, though. Is not going to go for any fat items, just the hood. Now a Vanguard. He's going to look to join very quickly. The fight will break out up towards top lane. Benyaz is going to get drained out by Abed. Going to use his Exorcism here as well. Benyaz will get swarmed down. Boca will slip out of there. Exorcism not quite fully onto the tower, but you know what? It's with that Arcane Rune. Not a big deal for Abed, and it'll still do a lot of damage.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen.
There's a lot of acceleration waiting in the DC jungle. A giant stack of Ancients, Southern Jungle. A little bit of a hard camp stack there as well. Most likely it'll be the Mason Bristleback cash into this. We saw this, I expect to see this a lot from Envy. He played a lot of Bristleback, and he was able to do something very similar, just go straight to the jungle. Dubu, what is a Crystal Maiden doing here? Seems like a little bit of a mismatch for her, and she's gonna get slaughtered. Poor CM. Breaks my heart every time. Ah, the tactical.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Minuses on everyone except for the enemy Troll Warlord. Actually has gone for Vlad's first. I feel an interesting build-up. He's gonna, kind of stick to the more cookie-cutter-ish build after that Vlad's, but every single time I've seen Troll Warlord recently find any sort of success, it's been when he's been absolutely power farmed through Midases or through Magnus Empower, and he's not going to have a ton in this game. He's not really even going to have a ton of space created by his allies either. Like, Batrider's getting to a point where he will maybe be able to do that, but Boca Jr. definitely not. He's dead on top lane. 3 heroes able to bring him down, and Ember Spirit has had such a rough start. He's going for Travels. That is not going to be a relevant enough space creation item for this Troll Warlord to really get going. So it does seem like DC are setting up, even with these Midases, for a point in the game where they will be able to just force these fights from Infamous, and Infamous just won't have the farm necessary to battle back. They see YYF and Baboka, but they don't see the bat.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Endurance run. Gold for me.
Death Prophet is very much so a glass cannon hero for the first 20-25 minutes of the game, going for a Hand of Midas build-up. Definitely not going to help her kind of smooth that over. We'll eventually be getting armor, we'll be getting just raw health so that it's more difficult to make that play, but for right now, Infamous, as long as they're able to maintain the numbers advantage and use that big asset they have in that Warlock Rock, especially towards the Death Prophet, then they should be finding some pretty nice success. And the more you do plays like that, the more you enable your kind of underfarm Ember Spirit to kind of get back into the game. But for right now, Bristleback, tanky as all hell. Gonna go straight towards the Roach. Level 1 goo with a little bit of minus armor, so that Abed's Ghosts can do a little bit extra damage. And Infamous, yeah, they have no Warlock Rock, therefore they have no way of fighting this.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Now we charge out from this bottom lane. Going towards Dubu, but Dubu has so much protection. Abed, Bulba are definitely heroes that Smiths can deal with, especially since Sword have a Blink Dagger at this stage. I assume that they know about it, DC. Well, I don't think it's been clearly used by the Batrider yet. May be wrong about that, but it looks like that charge is not going to do a hell of a lot right now. As long as the Exorcism is down, there's really no point in DC making any super aggressive plays. They do have this farming advantage given to them by these hands of Midas and this Bristleback. Though he is very tanky right now, and you may want to just kind of leverage him into a bunch of team fights, it's only going to be if you find free ones, such as over mid lane perhaps, where you're going to make an attempt on this Ember Spirit. Not quite a full commitment though.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant
have
structures are
a
fortified.
lot of armor items here. Obviously the Bristleback already has his completed Solar Crest, and that Shine is going to be on the field, and we'll have another one being built up by the Nature's Prophet. He only has that little baby one in that medallion, but still really difficult for the Troll Warlord to find his targets. And looking at offensive power being amplified from Mason and Abed as well. Ghosts are physical, of course, and Bristleback is purely physical as well. So these armor swings, pretty nice work here for the DC side. This tower push on bottom is not free. Benyez definitely using the Troll for pushing a lot more than we ordinarily see. Usually takes a little bit longer for Trolls to get a lot of pushing power because they're usually off farming, but looking to use that Fervor and that Berserker's Rage as much as he possibly can. It is actually doing a really good job at just chipping down bottom, putting damage into this tier 2 in the mid lane and bottom lane. It's definitely not an irrelevant amount of damage. They're going to charge in after Abed. He's very low on mana. Charge is going to land. The Chaotic Offering is going to chain stun further. Death Prophet is able to get, I don't think any siphons off. He will stick up, try to start for a little while longer. It's not going to happen. Mason also dropping very low. Does have the Aegis, so he's going to go a little bit further. As Forev does teleport in, is going to leash down YYF with the Sprout. They'll take down Boca Jr. first, and Mason's still alive. They don't have any more chase power, though, and it will be ultimately just a 1-for-1 exchange. Aegis still held by the Bristleback, though Batrider's going to come in. Not going to make any sort of commitment here. Not a great trade for DC, but at least they don't have to worry about the Chaotic Offering anymore.
Excellent.
Warriors of the wood.
Veil of Discord, a great offensive item. Gives you a little bit of defensive components, but you are focusing onto a Death Prophet with very low mana. not really much he can do. So Abed just has to make sure that he's managing his mana pool a little bit better there. They're gonna jump in for a lasso onto Bulba. Force Staff is up as well, looking for the Boundless Strike. Is going to feign it a couple times. It will just slow roast the entire time, but I guess base created. Sprout not gonna do anything versus that Firefly, but a Crypt Swarm from distance will make it an even trade, and a pretty good trade for DC at that. And as soon as they make that trade, we could see immediately Infamous springing into action. Ben is on bottom. He's going to shove this one over towards mid lane, same exact thing. DC, though, they can push really, really quickly. I don't think they can race this many heroes who are already in position to push towers.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Autumn comes
Radiant's
too
bottom
soon.
tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Dire's top tower has fallen. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Mason.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
The frozen waste.
Proper fashion. Uproot and after that.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Can't really blame Infamous for not dealing with Mason. He's just way too tanky to effectively burst down. They don't have someone like a Legion commander in order to force him to show his face to Infamous, so he's always going to have that freedom of mobility. Oh, blink in from this Ember Spirit very aggressively. Gets sprouted, pretty well done, but Infamous are coming in force. Forev going to try to straight leave. He'll be successful, and Mason is going to be the chase of a lifetime. Well, maybe not. Lasso's up in 1 second. That will let them get into position to hit his face. Although Duba's going to throw in a snowball from the side. That'll give him a couple more seconds. And, well, Bulba's going to throw out his ultimate. Will do a whole lot of nothing. But they will still turn around on the Bat Rider and do him in. Bristleback just does so much damage right now. And it does seem like with that kill, DC, once again, assembling the troops on the top lane. I think the big difference between that last fight that we saw and the previous fights was that Abed was not 100 to 0. He was able to get some siphons off. And though he was taken down eventually, he put out so much damage before he dropped.
The seeds of fortune.
Dire structures are fortified.
Endurance run.
Prophet is certainly building up a lot tankier right now. With that hood, we saw how long it took them to actually bring her down, but that initiation from the Bat Rider, pretty much textbook. Be perfect for them. Boboka Jr. gonna land the charge. The two-man strike is gonna slow them down, and Mason is gonna let loose, although the chaotic offering does drop in the middle, killing off the two supports. Rev once again gonna try to straight TP out of here. He will fail. Mason will succeed. Again, this Bristleback rather unkillable. Infamous are able to strike back really hard, killing 4 heroes while losing none of their own. It's the fight that you would expect when Chaotic Offering is used, and for DC, this Death Prophet, I'm not really sure if I like this Boots of Travel selection. It does seem like she's being targeted every single time, and she doesn't have a Dazzle or a Vengeful Spirit behind her to save her. She just has to survive in order to get that Siphon off.
Is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Gold.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Permission the next time you want to feed.
Not enough health in this Death Prophet. Of course, you can't expect her to survive a gank of that caliber. Pretty much left for dead from the rest of her teammates, but not even time to try to get a Siphon off, which, who knows, may be able to turn the tide simply because Ember Spirit tends to be, especially with this Veil build, very front-loaded as far as his damage output. You get a big burst of damage and then not much afterwards. So if you survive that, usually you're just going to walk out of the fight. But for right now, she's going to be respawning soon with Exorcism available. But Infamous are doing a really good job at really abusing this vision that they have with the Bat Rider, with the Spirit Breaker to capitalize even further. Still, Mason is wandering around unanswered, and he's going to have another fat item soon in that Assault Cuirass build-up. Everyone else on DC seem extremely vulnerable, especially since they're going to try to go for Roshan. Up against the Bat Rider with still Lasso, as well as a Chaotic Offering, they're going to smoke in. It's only Mason presenting himself right now. And if they're going to focus him, he's kind of okay with it. He's going to turn his back as best he can. Boundless Strike is perfect. Here comes the ultimates from the supports. Both of them are going to drop pretty well. But no, they're actually going to both be canceled with a Chaotic Offering dropping onto Dubu. Abed, though, he's in the middle of the fight with his ultimate active. It's going to kill off the Golem in a hurry. But Infamous, they took the CM kill. And they're going to back off away from that circle of monkeys. Abed's going to go right back in. Ooh, brave blink in there from the Bat Rider. Lots of damage being dealt to this Bristleback right now with the charge in. They'll bowl over Mason and actually jack the Aegis and kill off 4Ev. Infamous just get away with murder. That's a 4-0 after that initial team fight. Plus they're able to, well, maybe get a 5th as Boba is spotted. Here's the charge and he's swarmed with heroes. Full 5-man wipe. And they get the Roche and the Aegis, I think. Yeah, they kill off everything. They kill actually everything.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Flames will spread thrice.
That was just a good initial disengage from the Infamous side. Chaotic Offering helping a lot in that regard as well. But, I mean, it's so clear what you have to do in that situation. As Monkey King, you drop your ultimate because there's a team fight, but then the enemies just walk away from it. You're looking at Death Prophet, you're looking at a Bristleback. I mean, they're really good at slowing down enemies, but as far as locking them down and keeping them in those circles of doom, there's no real way for them to do that pretty much ever, unless Mason is eventually going to pick up like a Basher or something like that, a super late game Sheepstick for a Death Prophet along those lines, maybe. But Infamous just able to walk in and walk out. To the lack of disables there from DC. The only heroes with disables were, I mean, Crystal Maiden was channeling, obviously, and the Boundless Strike was already used, so that initial disengage really saved their bacon there, and now they're in a dominant position just to look for these pickoffs. You have to be careful because DC have a lot of power, but they're looking at Mason for right now. Dubu right behind him as backup. Ward is spotted. We'll have a blink out, and it should be just fine. top lane. Bulba's less fine. Forev is going to arrive to help him out. Well, Abed will as well.
Roots and run.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Didn't happen. Mine is the anvil on which your spirituals run. Gold for me. Warriors of the wood.
Bread of Farm is definitely going to be something that's concerning for DC. Hannah Midas forever on this Nature's Prophet and Death Prophet both, so yeah, you'd expect them to be fairly farmed. They're not quite as farmed as they really need to be, and you're looking at Infamous's heroes. I mean, the Troll is on top, the Ember's not too far behind, and that's to be expected. We have Hannah Midas on the Warlock as well as on the Spirit Breaker. These supports are just going to be rolling in the dough. Compare that to Bulba and Dubu on this Monkey King and CM. They just don't have the ability to keep up with farm, and Dubu is going to get picked off, so that's not going to help his farm game either necessarily. But Infamous's spread of farm is going to be so much more balanced, and for DC that means that they absolutely cannot afford to get picked off, and they're up against a Batrider. It's just not possible for them to not get picked off. So Infamous just working with such a farm advantage in raw gold, but also in how that gold is actually dispersed in their heroes.
Excellent.
That's for me.
Usually we see the Monkey King on kind of the side of the fight, on a tree, perched, and then he'll drop the Wukong's command from over a cliff or something along those lines. And again, we established Batrider is just not going to let that happen. As long as the Batrider's in the game, Bulba can't afford to play those cheap shenanigans, because if he's spotted, he's just going to get killed. And that means that the Wukong's command are always when he's in the middle of the fight, and he's clearly not tanky enough to be able to get away with that. Maybe Shadowblade as his next item will help him make sure that the circle stays for a little while longer, but it just does seem like Infamous have this Monkey King and this Nature's Prophet pretty well locked down just by hero disadvantage or hero advantage alone. They don't really have to work too hard to get that much else aside from that. Infamous are starting to rally the troops here, looking for this tier 2 tower. Chaotic Offering is up, and DC, they need to make a pretty big play. If Death Prophet had a little bit more gold, a BKB would be such a big difference for her, but not quite up yet.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Man, this Ember Spirit is getting pretty ridiculous amounts of farm right now. He has the more or less pretty classic Ember Spirit build, but is going to deviate a little bit. Mjolnir definitely not a bad item to have, but attack speed on Ember, I do think that it's probably better if he was to go for that Shiva's or an Octarine, just a soul booster item, try to get more bulk on him. He is just looking for some extra DPS, and I guess it does make a little bit of extra sense when you have a Troll Warlord on your team as well. Charge in, going straight towards Bulba. He's going to get locked down. Balance Strike onto 2 is great, but that's not going to save him, nor is it going to save Dubu. And they're both going to fall. These supports, pretty much just pure food for the Infamous side at this stage. And with those 2 kills, maybe going to look at a little bit of poke up the high ground. The Batrider still has his lasso, so they could still stick around.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Still a minute and a half, some odd, before Roshan is going to be up. Mason split pushing, just trying to get a little bit of room for his allies to get something done, but split push up against Travels on Ember Spirit, not really going to be too much effect in the grand scheme of things. Now DC, they're kind of locked in their base. Up against the Batrider, it doesn't seem like the status quo is really easy to change. Same thing because of this Spirit Breaker, who, wow, you mentioned some invis. He's got the big daddy invis. Silver Edge is up above that Shadow Blade. You know what? I heard that's a pretty good item to have up against the Bristleback. Getting rid of that passive, absolutely backbreaking. No, is really good up against the Bristleback. No, we're not doing that here. That's too easy.
Endurance run.
Mine.
Oh no, not this again. Not Bulba, not Dubu, poor CM. Oh, the Balance Strike is once again perfect from Bulba, and he's going to get a little bit of extra time here as the circle is going to go down. Wukong's command is going to stick for a long time, but his allies just aren't able to stay in the fight long enough. They do take down the Warlock, and they will still keep Mason kicking. But with the Drains, is going to get a secondary kill with the long-range Quip Storm. Forced to buy out, but yes, as you said, bottom, Benyes gonna ignore all that jazz and is just gonna go for what matters. That's not a good idea, bro. Don't do that. Raxes for 3. Well worth it for Infamous. Oh no, Dubu. Oh, Boca Jr.
Regeneration.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
Immortality.
Cheese as well for the DC side. Third Roche. So yeah, it's
The seeds are for
gonna be a lot of assets here for the DC side. But the question is, are those assets going to be worth more or less than Infamous having their Troll Warlord in the fight? Who just now picks up a Butterfly, still has a BKB, 9 seconds in duration, almost at that level 25 mark as well. So yeah, DC may be really powerful at this stage, but it does again seem like they're putting all their eggs in this Bristleback basket. And if Benya is able to get into the Bristleback's face in melee form, and Bristleback as tanky as he is, won't really last that long. That was again a 4v5 fight, and DC losing the Death Prophet, and that's again where the where that